So now this is recorded. So I'm gonna get this thing in a presentation mode and typically slideshow. So let me introduce my team. Joining me tonight, I don't know if I have Ben Wiles from Dranesville District Office or not, or he may jump in at it any time. But I have Heather Ambrose, Caroline Harm, Paul Reynolds, and Monahan Clyde from Department of Public Works, Bean Jiang from Land Development Services, and our design team members, I have Matt Lawrence and BT Nibas from Panoni Associates Inc. Tonight's agenda is we will go the purpose of the meeting. We'll go with the background, what project area we're working, our project is on, and the project objectives, existing conditions, proposed solutions that we have, the concepts solutions we have, and then we'll go over easement requirements, and then we'll talk about project schedule and next steps. So we will review what the existing condition that we have in this community, inform what we saw in July 8, 2019 storm event, and provide information on the solution that we have to mitigate those large storm events. Project area and description. So this project falls in 3-meter watershed, and I have zoomed the area of the reference, and you have seen this map before. Well, I sent the for the utility designations and survey limits. So this area in the red, if you see, that's the channel. So typically, our project is limited up to the channels, even if it shows in the red area in here. But we have a pull-in solution that comes in that we have expanded in our design. It actually goes through Westmoreland Street. So that's how the project limit is shown in here. The pull-in and our existing conditions, this whole channel and pool lanes drains to the north. So, Kirby Road is on the south, Pimitron is on the northwest. Concrete channel from Kirby to end of Ivy Hill Drive, and the pool lane drains to concrete channel in our existing condition. Flooding. So I know this neighborhood had several flooding events before, but it's got a lot of attention from July 8, 2019 storm event. And from that event, we know that a lot of people reported house flooding, and there were sewer backups too. The yard flooding happened, lifting of manholes and inlets, gushing out storm flow from there, and house flooding along pool lane. In a normal year in July, we get total rainfall of 4 inches in Fairfax County, but on that particular day in 1 hour, we got up to 5.84 inches of rainfall. And then a total of about 6.4 inches for the day. So it was a big event. But beyond that, these homes and the manhole leaking occurs anytime you have a larger flooding events. So objectives of the project, we will evaluate house flooding and public safety concerns that we did that, identify and evaluate house flooding, improves drainage system and reduce localized flooding by designing the adequate drainage systems. Right now, the channel itself is not sufficient to carry even a good amount of 10-year flow event. And it's not for 100-year storm event. Same way the pipes in the pool lanes, they can't carry 10-year flow events. So it's not when you get a larger event, which we typically, in our case, say 100-year event, is the larger event that we take. July storm event, maybe it was different for a different neighborhood, somewhere from 100 to 500 to 1,000 year, depending on where you were. But our design, when we design it, it's going to be typically for 100-year storm. Use resilient and functional design. So we do not want to change how the channel already there. We would like to maximize what's already out there. That's how we make improvements compatible with the characteristic of neighborhood. We don't want to shift the channel somewhere else because it's just in there, and we got to work within what we have in there. And then partner with community to develop sound, cost-effective solutions. So we're here today, we're presenting it to you, and we'll get your feedback. For the concrete channel layout, I'm going to talk different sections in here. So section 1 is at the end of the perimeter on where the concrete channel ends. So it's in the top part here. Excuse me. And the second section is there is an outfall that comes from pool in from there up to Youngblood is the second section, and then in third section is from Youngblood to Kirby Road. The section 1 has a wider width channel, section 2 has a medium width channel, and section 3 has a lower width channel. So in existing drainage condition, for the concrete ditch, it runs from Kirby to Youngblood to Pimitron. The channel is inadequate to convey in 10-year storm. Even in 10-year storm, you'll have a multiple yard flooding in the area. Multiple home floods during the significant major events. For us, the significant major event is 100-year. Huge hydraulic jump occurs in section 1 and 2. So these two sections have it's a phenomenon called hydraulic jump, where the flow suddenly jumps and floods the houses. In this area is prone to that because of the way, I don't know when it was developed. Instead of taking this channel straight, it made several bends before actually going to Pimitron. Our pipe system and pool in existing condition, it goes from Youngblood to in between these two houses, and then through the pipe in here, and then goes through these houses and in two houses in pool lane, and then it turns around and goes to and cross Carclay and goes to Mulray Channel. That pipe is not adequate to convey a 10-year flow. In a 100-year event, house flood in the pool lane area. For concrete channel, in our current condition, we have a 7-foot wide channel at the bottom, and its channel width varies 19 feet on the top to 18.5 feet on the top. But interestingly, the easement for this area is quite different. And on the top where the Youngblood is, which is section 3, is the drainage easement is just for 25 feet. And beyond that, up to where the pool ends, pipe comes in, is also 25 feet. And after that, it's a 52-foot drainage easement.
So John, there is a question, and I was going to try to type the answer, but I'm thinking maybe it would be better to just address it now. Could you define the 10-year flow? Because I also imagine it would be helpful to define the 100-year flow.
I'm hearing your sound is very small.
So John, I didn't have my earpiece down. Sorry. I think for the benefit of the audience, for this particular question, we go ahead and answer it now, defining the 10-year flow, and then I would go ahead and define the 100-year flow as well, since I know you'll be mentioning that.
So you're typically a 10-year flow is a flow that occurs. It's not like every 10 years. It's a chance. It's like a 10%. When you use the 100-year, it's a chance. It's a 1% event. It's called if you're in a given year. So 10-year that's typically we use for a pipe system design and conveyance system. But when it's a design, and these days especially for conveyance systems like channel, you should have some freeboard. So if you have a bigger event, it can pass through. But the way these were designed before, the pipes typically is designed for 10-year, and then you have in a way to go overland flow in case the pipe gets full. You have an overland system to go through the yard. But here there is not adequate overland flow from the yard. So instead of going through the yards, it simply goes to people's house and flood them. The same way through the channel, it just can carry, not even carry 10-year flow. So as soon as a certain amount of rain event comes in, it jumps out and it starts flooding yard and houses. Hope that clarifies the question. So it's a 1% chance versus 10% chance.
And I guess we should take this one too. I'm not sure if we want to take all of these out of order. I think some can wait till the end, but what do the orange and black icons signify? The orange is an MS4 outfall.
These are outfalls. These are the different outfalls that are on the channel. And these black option here are the pipes that's going through. These gray are the actual concrete channel that runs from Kirby. It confuses from the road work. Also, road also has a gray in here. But if she is the gray and the black boundary, these are the channels. Channels ultimately outfalls right in here at this area.
And I haven't forgotten the first question. I think we'll talk about the floodplain at the end. Go ahead, Sajan.
Okay. So on the proposed conditions, drainage conditions. So I'm showing in the existing condition we had the concrete channel going from Kirby to at the end at the pool end. Pool not at the perimeter run, and then the pool lane actually goes to young blood and these houses. That's where the existing condition is. In a proposed solutions, we have the concrete channel still goes through this same way. The pool lane, we are diverting flow from young blood to Westmoreland Street and taking it back to pool lane through Westmoreland Street without going through these yards. So all the flows will be diverted through Westmoreland Street, then to pool lane. And there are two options that if you were able to download the maps that's on the website, you will see there are two options in there. There is one option that takes the flow directly to the concrete channel. That's an option.
I just wanted to say one thing.
Sure.
Yay!
This is awesome.
This is awesome.
Where option and then option two is option one is the one that we're diverting it through the Kirkley, and option two is we're taking it's going through the concrete channel. Both options they have cost implications, as well as there are a lot of utilities in here that we will be evaluating further. But those are the two options. So in these situations, we're actually diverting flow from the backyard to the road. So on a concept design concrete channel. So I know there are I have got questions from some of the residents out there. Why can't we just work within the existing footprint of the concrete channel? And the answer is the elevations is not what we have out there is not much different from the perimeter run. So you cannot dig that. If that was possible, we would never come out for easements. We would like to do that option where we can avoid the easements, but that's not possible hydraulically. So we have to widen channel somehow to get those 100-year flow within the channel. So in option one, there are two options that we have. The map that you have downloaded from the website is option two, which is the preferred option for us. Option one has a little bit smaller channel, so it has a little bit less easement, but option two has a little bit wider easement, and then the channel width for section 2 and 3 are different, but section 1, which is the downstream portion, remains same for both options. So the both option 1 and 2 are designed for 100-year flow. There were questions that I got earlier whether we were designing for 500 year. No, we don't design for 500 year. That's impossible to design any system for 500 or 1,000-year event, because that's extreme event. You don't design for extreme event. You design for a reasonable, larger event, and that's for us is 100-year. So it's designed to accommodate 100-year flow in the overbank areas. So in option 1, we cannot contain all the flow within the channel, as some flows will try to come out, but it remains within the channel, near the channel. If the young blood has a culvert right now, and that needs to be replaced too. And we'll have to work out with VDOT and how that goes. We can't tell right now. But if we are not able to replace the culvert and young blood, then with the option 1, doing the option 1, we'll still have 5 houses will need to be flood-proof if young blood culvert is not replaced. And if culvert is replaced, we are able to replace culvert. Even with that, there is 1 house still needs to be flood-proof. So that is why we prefer option 2, which avoids all the flooding of the houses in around the concrete channel. Several houses north of channel between Youngblood and Kirby still have some yard flooding in this case, but there will not be structural flooding in option 1. So in option 1, if you look at the existing conditions, they were all 7 feet wider channel, 7 feet wide at the bottom to 8.5 half feet channel. In the option 1, in the proposed situation, the downstream end will have to be a 16 feet wide channel, and then the associated slope with it. We do have easements. So when we had easements in the past, I don't know how they did easement and how they constructed the channel. We had 52 feet of easements in there, but the channel has been constructed in a portions where there is no easement. So we really cannot shift those channel to be within that 52 foot drainage easement. Now you will be talking about going into people other side's house. So we have to have easement to, because there's no easement on the Kirkley side. We will have to have additional easement to be on the Kirkley side, but not on the Ivy Hill side. In the upstream of that, where the pool link pipe comes in to the Youngblood, the bottom width was 8.5 feet. That needs to go to 10 feet. And in the upstream, the width remains same. It's just the channel needs to be sloped properly to get to convey that flow. So I will go for the easements on the next slides, so you know where we would need what the existing easement is versus what the proposed easement will be. So the channel option 1, I said that we're conveying 100-year flow. If we are not able to replace the Youngblood culvert, the 5 house will be flooded, and they will have to be flood-proofed individually. And if we are able to replace it, one house still needs to be flood-proofed. Now I'll go with the option 2. The option 2, the end of the channel from the pool end's outfall to the end of the channel still remains same, but the section 2, which is from that pool end outfall to Youngblood, has to go to 12 feet, and then the upstream of that we need 10 feet wide channel. If we do that, we can accommodate 100-year floodplain flood within the channel. If we're not able to replace Youngblood, instead of 5, the 4 houses will need to be flood proof. But if we could replace it in these situations, we will avoid all houses flooding and the yard flooding for 100-year. So that's why I have the preferred option 2, and that's what I put it into the website for you all to take a look at it in a zoomed version. So existing and proposed 100-year option 2. I'm not showing option 1 in here, but an option 2. So when we did the modeling, it showed that 31 houses will be affected by 100-year floodplain. So these blue lines in here are the floodplains, 100-year floodplain limits. And you can see most of these runs to the houses. In the same way up in here, all of these blue lines, the 100-year goes all the way to the houses jumping from the other side of Ivy Hill. And the same way up in here. And that is, and all of, it's in this section in here, the bigger jumps occurs too. When we go through option 2, we will limit our 100-year flood within the channel now. So we can avoid the flooding of these houses in here. Option 1 will still have some yard flooding. It's going to be a little bit smaller channel, but still needs a one house flood proof. BD, is this the house that we need to flood proof even if we replace young blood? BD is in here.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
That one house we are talking about is closer to Kirby. It has a driveway off of Barbie Streets, where there is a pipe that is coming in from Mulroy Street into the concrete channel.
Oh, okay. So one up here.
Yeah, those houses, the 4 houses, they need flood proof is mainly because of the existing culvert being under capacity.
Okay.
Next to Youngblood, the 2 houses on either side of Youngblood.
So the 100-year flood plan, even whether it is option 1 or option 2, is still is going to be the same. It's just the 1 versus 2 is if we are able to replace young blood with the option 2, we will avoid 100-year flooding as well as yard flooding for the structural as well as yard flooding for the houses. To pull in, so in our old in our existing design, the pull in pipes comes from young blood. It is greens up here, shows up the pipe in here. They come into in the back of these yards and goes through here and then comes to these houses in pull in, and then pipe comes in and then goes up in here, crosses, pulled in, and come to Mulroy Channel. And in our option 1, we are diverting the flow from Youngblood to Westmoreland Street and pull in, and then we are taking the flow directly to Pimitron. And the same, and for the option 2, instead of diverting through here, we're still taking it through here, but that means we will need a wider pipe, bigger pipe in here, and that means that existing easement has to be expanded in that area. And option 2, that's what I mentioned, that still will go through the way it's going through here. And pro and cons are like, from here we will have to work with the road, but at least we can avoid the utility conflict if we go through option 2 through Kirkley. If we don't go through Kirkley. In the pull in and the existing conditions, these are the green shows the grounds. These are the structures that we currently have behind the yards and pull in and just next to young blood houses. And you can see the hydraulic grill, and that's what if you leave those water in these pipes, how high those waters can rise onto those pipes. You can see they are clearly they will come out from the pipes and shoot out. And so in the proposed condition, we're containing all them within the grounds in both option 1 and option 2. Option 1 is going through Kirkley, option 2 is going directly to the Mulroy Channel. So those were the solutions. Now we know the project is, so far designing is easy to solve, but now comes to the harder part, that which is critical, is to get easements. One of the reasons we wanted to, for the pull in solution, we wanted to go through the Westmoreland estate is for the easements, acquisitions, and multiple yards that we had to expand on. We tried to avoid that, but we couldn't avoid that for the concrete channel, because you have no way of diverting that concrete channel flow to somewhere else where we don't need easements. So I'm going to go through the concrete channel's existing easement, and then I'll go through the proposed easement. Kirby to Youngblood, in our existing condition, we have existing 30-foot drainage easement. So from here all the way up here, we have 30-foot drainage easement. That is, we call section 3 in our case. Section 1 and 2, I don't know how they came up with these easements. That easement actually narrows to 25-foot drainage easement from Youngblood to the pool lane outfall. It is a little wider in here on the other side, but up to this house, it's all 25-foot drainage easement. What we needed a wider channel is actually easement is smaller. Then past the pool lane outfall to the end, we have 52-foot drainage and sanitary easements. It's a combined easements in there. And if you look at these concrete channel, you can see these concrete channels is not properly in the easements middle. They are actually towards Kirkley side, and there is the way the channel is actually constructed is out of the easements, right, BD? The part of the channel is already out of easements.
Yeah, in the last section,
Yeah.
the downstreammost section, yes.
Yeah, yes, this section. Kirby to Youngblood, section 3, option 1. So we have 30-foot existing easements. We will require 36-foot easement. So we need 6 feet additional total easement. Doesn't mean that it's all one side. No, the way the channel and the easements exist in here, they don't align perfectly with the way the channel is. It appears in here, but when we surveyed it, the channel exactly does not align with the easements. So I'm showing in the either side, I need 1 to 6 feet easement. That doesn't mean that I'm acquiring 6 feet easement in this side, 6 feet easement in this side. It's kind of slant on those easements. So its total easements at any point is 6 feet, but somewhere it may be 1 feet, somewhere it may be 2 feet on one side versus 3 feet on one side versus 3 feet on another side. That's for option 1, where we are just looking for 7 feet wide bottom width, which is currently what we have. And on option 1 continued. So from the end of Youngblood to up to here, where we have just 25 feet easement, our easement is on this side. We need 11.5 feet of easement to 14 feet easements. And on the Ivy Hill side, we need 1.3 feet to 4.4 feet easement in order for us to construct the channel. The downstream of this pool lane, even though we have 52 feet easement, the way the channel was constructed, they were actually out of easements in existing conditions. So the channel actually lies beyond the easement's limits. The way it exists right now, we need to widen the channel in that area, and we need 13 to 22.4 feet easement, depending on where we are. Option 2, Kirby to Youngblood. So this is the option that avoids all the house flooding and along with the yard flooding for 100-year event. So here the easement requirements is a little bit more. We had total 6 feet of easement required before. We need 9 feet of easement, but 9 feet easement is, adding both sides. So if somewhere it's 1 foot, then it's 8 foot on another side, or 4 and 4 feet and one versus another, or 3 or 5. It depending where it is, because it's perfectly not aligned on center of those easements. So the easement width varies. So 6 feet versus 9 feet and option 2. Same way on the downstream of the Youngblood up to the point where we just have 25 feet easements. So the minimum 11.5 feet still remains the what we would need additional foot of easement on either side. So the Ivy Hill side is 1.3 feet to 6.4 feet of easements, and towards the Kirkley side is 11.5 to 15.8 feet easements. So additional total, we need 16 feet. Option 1 and option 2, in both cases, the downstream of the pool lane, the easement width does not change. It still remains same. On the pool lane, the solutions, if we have to go through option 2, which is going through the Mulder channel directly instead of going through Kirkley. The pipes here, the existing easement is 10 foot right now. We would need additional 5 foot easements on either side of that easement. is to make it a 20-foot easement to put larger pipe in there so that we can convey this 100-year flow through these pipes to this channel. For the option one, which we're going to take this flow through the Kirkley, for Kirkley Avenue, we don't need the easement. So the concept design is complete now. The next stage, as I have on my website, also mentioned easement acquisition to begin. So what's going to happen is we got this. We're presenting this today. We're going to see what your feedback is, and then we will start working on to find out, because we have 45 easements to acquire and along the concrete channel. It's not one or two houses. There are so many houses that we have, and all of those easements are important for us. If we don't get easements on particular property and it's that section of land, we will be stuck. We won't be able to do anything because going deeper is not the solution. If it was the solution, we would have done that instead of acquiring easement, because it's easy for us to work within the easement than going out of the easement. So once we figure out internally, we're going through a title search for all the properties where we need easements right now. So our land acquisition division is going through the title search to make sure that when we actually go for easement process, we have to have them ready. If you find what you've been muted. Okay. So our land acquisition division is doing a title search right now, and once that comes in, we are gonna do a draft easement plan, and then we will be reaching out to individual homeowners where we need easements. Without the easements, we can move forward for 65% design. And here is my contact information if you have any questions. So with that said, I'm gonna end the presentation and then
So
come
John,
back to.
I'll help you get started on these questions because I answered just one or two, but do you want to go through them yourself, or do you kind of want me to help you with
I want to see chat here too, but if you already have collected, why don't we go through so I don't have
well,
to go
I mean, I'm just reading the chat as well. So John, but I would go ahead and start with the first one from, I don't know your first name, but Mr. and Mrs. Meehan. I know you emailed us earlier as well, but you had a question about, and this is a good question, will the houses affected be considered out of the floodplain by Fairfax County maps once this project is completed? So I think you're asking, will the county go back in and remap the floodplains after we have completed the project? Correct?
Yeah, so that is one that often we're looking at once we go through this project, and if it revises the floodplain, we will certainly do that. It will benefit the residents for lowering their insurance. So yeah, I will go through that route.
Thank you.
Yes, someone had the second on that. I have to find the 10-year flow, define that one. Oh, there was a question about, I missed that one, from Chris Shue. We asked about the black and orange icons signifying the outfalls, but is Mulroy Street at a, I'm not sure what you mean by 52-foot easement. Feel free to speak up if these were your questions as well at this point to clarify.
No, we're good. That was answered. Thank you.
You got that? Okay, great. I think you can just go in order from there, John.
There were some questions that Mihan had earlier, and I want to go through some of the questions he had. So there
Why don't we finish? There's just a few more in the chat. So John, do you want to finish those? Oh, actually, it looks like people are adding. So I might want to take that back. Well, this was another question from the Mehans, and I don't know if you clarified it. Why can't you just dig deeper within the existing footprint? I think you touched on that a little bit.
Answered that. I already answered. BT is here. BT can explain more about it because he's the designer.
Right. I didn't understand it, so that's why I asked again. You could go in more depth. Thank you.
Yeah, if it was, that's what we looked at it in the beginning, but that was not the solution. We would have done it if that was easy. Because for us, if we do not want to get easement. Easement takes us a lot of time and effort for us. So we want to avoid easement as much as possible, and we try to do that for pooling. but it was not possible for the concrete channel because without having that channel expanded, we are no way we can do 100-year within the channel. And I know that both sides of the house are in the floodplain right now. They are in RPA, and all the flows, larger flow even comes in. They just flows out and flood those houses.
And is it because you reach the water by the time you dig 2 or 3 feet down? Is that what it is that causes you not to go down deep?
Beatty,
So
can you answer
yeah,
this?
sure. I'll take that. The existing channel slope itself is very mild. I mean, the slope of the channel from in the section downstream of Youngblood towards Pimitron is like 0.6%. If you dig it deeper, you're going to make it even further flatter, which will basically slow down the flow of water through the channel, which will result in higher ponding. But more to that is the trapezoidal section is the most hydraulically efficient section to convey the flows more efficiently. If you're digging deeper, you're looking at more like a rectangular section to go deeper. That's not an hydraulically efficient section. The water surface is going to rise with that kind of a channel section. So yeah, we had evaluated those even prior to the concept design and came up with this most hydraulically efficient section.
Before designing all these options, that 1 or 2 options we had a, prior to starting these projects, we had a Murray channel section Tononi had analyzed several years ago. From that, we actually had 9 different options that we went through to see what's gonna do the best. And these are the 2 options we narrowed down to, and that's where we asked Tononi to work on for the concept. There were so many options, but not, without easement acquisition, it was not possible to do anything.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Because
John,
we
why don't
wanted
you
to,
stop?
there are 45 easements.
Why don't you stop
Yes.
sharing your screen?
Oh, okay.
Just because it's
think I
weird
should
to
have-
watch the transcript, keeping
yeah.
track of everything. Thank you. Does either option address the limitations of the Youngblood Bridge over the culvert? I did not try to answer this one in a chat.
Yes, so the culvert certainly restricts. And I said, if we are not able to replace the Youngblood, then there are 5 and 4 between option 1 and option 2. There are 5 versus 4 houses would flood. And and the replacing Youngblood is in our design, and that we certainly have to work with VDOT. And if we're able to replace the Youngblood, we will avoid house flooding for option 2 for all the houses. We don't have to individually go and flood proof any house.
So the replacement of the bridge to remove that limitation on the bridge would be as part of option 2 or part of both options?
Both option and option 2 can do it, but with option 1, we will still have one house still need the flood proofing individually.
Okay.
Provide, I don't know if we want to do this or not on this meeting, provide the actual home numbers that need flood proofing. I don't know if you want to share that with the entire group or not.
Yeah, we when we go out for the easements, we can individually reach out to the homeowners.
I assume that all the gridding and colored paths for the options will be explained. I know which slide you were talking about in terms of how they will affect homeowners along them. I think it was the one slide. It's hard to show these large areas in one slide.
Yeah,
you could just.
I had to cut it and make it in small pieces to bring it to flat. That's why I give the larger map. And when I had the map posted, I didn't have the 100-year floodplain on that. I can replace that map with the one that I have for 100-year floodplain, so that then you can look into see how 100-year floodplain goes throughout all these houses.
Yeah, that's what those different colors do show. It's the different floodplains, I believe, in that.
Yeah, and if you like, you have my email. You can just email it to me, and I can email that map to you, so you can see how the existing 100-year floodplain are through all these houses through the channel.
And slide 15, showing the floodplain. What does the red outline indicate? Was that the 50? I don't think it was a 50-year flood. We don't typically have that, do we, Sajan?
Just let me get down to 15, right?
Yes.
I think it's this essentially the same question.
Okay.
Is what is the different red lines and what is this?
Yeah,
What is the key here?
what I'm gonna do is I have the map in here. Let me show you. This map has the color in here. I can email these maps to you all. If you give me if you send me an email, I can send this map that has all the colors in here. When I put it into the slide, it's just a big map. It's like a bigger 24 by 36 map. I try to put that thing in the slide, so I had to cut all these things up. But I have the legend for all of that, so you can look into that. So if you send me an email, I can send this map to you.
Thank you very much, Sajan.
I think it was the next one probably be the same. I talked about the easements. Yeah, they'll be different for each property, and we'll work individually with property owners on that piece of it. The slides probably haven't been posted. Have you posted the slides, John? I would not think so
not
yet.
We post after the this presentation, so it's going to be a couple days after it actually has to go through IT to post it.
The next one, and I'll let you touch on this again if you didn't, but I don't think we hit on the time frame for either option. I mean, we're looking at many years out, but go ahead, Sajan.
So you're talking about the construction?
I think just the entire, like, from where we are today, most likely until we could potentially go to construction.
So this is the main time consuming thing will be acquiring easements, and I know it's not one or two easements that we're trying to acquire. We have 45 easements to acquire, and you can see in either side we have, whether it's a 1 foot sliver of easement or 5 foot sliver of easement or 10 foot sliver of easement. All of those are important for us. So all those houses have to buy in for us to do the project, because if we are able to expand channel on one section, and if we're not able to expand on another one, that's going to create a backwater effect and create another problem for other houses in there. So it's not an easy things to work out unless we have all the easements in place. So it's going to take time for us to acquire easement. But if we are to get easements, say all homeowners agree to give us easement. I want to clarify, we don't. It's not a road project. It's not other utility project where we actually go and use eminent domain to get easements. The homeowner has to agree to give us easement. Otherwise, we're not forcing easement to anyone. It's
I would just say this can
are,
easily take at least a year to go through the
if
land acquisition piece.
If you are somehow affected by flood, you should be able to give us easements, and you can work out with neighbors. Some neighbors may or may not agree to it, but it's a collective effort. It's not this whole thing runs from so many houses in here. Either one or two houses don't give easements, we can just go and expand the channel and then leave a bottleneck, and that bottleneck will create another problem for the same houses we're trying to avoid the flooding. So it's not an easy solution, but if we do get easements, we can proceed with 65% design and final design. And so right now the design is funded for us all the way going through the 100%. If we finish the design, say in a year to 2 years, and that's my optimistic way of thinking it, then the construction of this thing is not until some year far out. But if we can finish the design, there are other projects ahead of this and they don't finish. And if we finish this, we can move this project right after we finish design. So right now we're not funded for design, but if we can finish the design, it can go up continuous with right after design for bidding and construction.
Okay, great. So John, thank you. There's a question about, and I'm not sure, this is from Dr. Sri, that you got a letter from the USGS. I didn't realize USGS sent out letters about properties being outside of a flood zone. We might have to follow up on this one. This is from 6:40 p.m. So John, how is this different than I'm not fully sure I understand. that question, if Dr. Sri wants to speak up. that
Yeah,
would
if you
be-
want to speak out your question, then it would be easier.
Yes. Yeah, this is Dr. Sri. I'm a professional engineer. Several years ago, I got a printed letter from USGS that my property is outside the flood zone. Earlier, it is part of the flood zone, about 1/3 of the property. So now with the new mapping they have done, it is outside of the flood zone. So now the project that the Fairfax County is proposing, how different it is? Are you superseding what USGS has modeled for us on a 100-year floodplain?
So if we go through design and construct these things, we will go to a map revision process in future. If that happens, it's actually not just for your property. There are all other property they will get benefits coming out from the floodplain, because it helps you when you are out of floodplain. Your insurance risk goes down and stuff.
You might want to follow up with us and separately on that letter. I'm not.
Yeah,
That might be helpful.
that will be helpful. If you can, send that out to me, I can forward that to the people who actually deal with the floodplain stuff in our group, and they can take a look at it and provide you suggestion.
What would be done first? What phase? I don't think we would have an idea of how we would phase this project this early on, and that would probably be dictated by whoever got the construction contract. But so John, there was a question about how we would phase this project.
Yeah, we haven't worked that out yet. We're still far away to develop that piece of design. That typically gets in 95% design. Once we finish concept, if we are successful getting easements, we will move to 65% design. Then we will be thinking about how to phase this project.
There's another question about what some of the shading meant, and I think if you send Sajan an email, we'll definitely get that to you. Once easements come in, how long will the project?
Map I will sure share with you all. What I will try to do is I will try to replace the map that I have on the website, the channel map with the floodplain one, because I received that later. That was just yesterday evening, and I had to send the IT because they take time, so I had to send them earlier versions, and that's how the floodplain didn't get in there.
Yeah, so we'll get that to you. How can these easements be so close to the house? I wonder if Caston, if you're referencing the existing easements or the easements that we're proposing for this project.
The proposed, so I'm on 6630 Kirkley, which is the bend right after the Youngblood Bridge.
Let me bring out the map.
And it's just very close to the house, it's like
just
almost
hold
touching.
on a second. I'm bringing the map. So which
I'm wondering if, yeah. So the corner, it's on the cul-de-sac of Kirkley, the one that has property on both sides. Yeah.
Okay. So you're this house here?
No, the one up from it.
This one, right?
Yeah.
You're the one who.
This is option one.
This is just our existing easement. This is the existing easement.
This is existing easement.
The existing easement is not very close to the house, but you're
Very close to the house.
This is the existing easement. The new one took it all the way
to the house.
Yeah, so the new one up in here, I don't know how wide that's gonna be in here, but let me bring it to the presentations where the easement is, so we can take a look at it, see how wide we're looking at that area. Whether it's option 1 versus option 2.
That's existing.
Let's look at the option 1. Is just like a 1 foot difference. So 11.5 foot to 14 feet, depending on where. And BD, the 14 foot would be near this house.
Yeah, so on option 2, it's like up to the house. That's why, isn't that the green part? Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Is that dark green part the added easement, right?
No. That's a channel.
No, go back to your slideshow.
Oh, okay. We're talking about slide.
Look at option 2. Let's see.
I'm trying to make sure I understand.
I think Sajan, if you have the map from the website, that will show it clearly.
You see there, see, it is
close.
That's very close. I mean,
Yes.
that's
No, they
Exactly.
don't go with this black scale in here. This is my just way of saying it. It's not that
Okay.
close. It's not that close.
We have seen easements that close that exist right now. That's why
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
there's some
it-
crazy
it-
things out there.
I just wanted to do it in the
Okay.
so that we have easements in here, but that's a 25 feet in here. We're talking about 11 feet easement. It's going to be maybe a sliver like this, but I just so it's thicker in that's not closer to the house.
Okay.
What's going to happen is after this, we will present an easement plan. It's not actually easement plan. We're going to prepare easement plan and then come out and meet with you to show how that affects your individual property. That's yeah. Don't go through these black maps in here because that's just gonna. Does your map has the easements marked in there, PD?
Yeah, the
Then
the exhibits on the website does have the easements. Yeah. I mean,
okay, so then-
this house is actually, I mean, it's closer to the channel also. That's the reason why the easement also is being closer to the house. Compared to the other houses, this is,
oh, I should have this map right in here. So let's
yeah.
look at it in here.
I mean, we need around 13 to 14 feet easement from the existing easement in that area. And that puts it relatively closer when compared to the other houses.
So this red mark you have
Red
it in
line is,
here.
that's right. The red line is the proposed easement line. Yeah.
So it is close.
That doesn't mean that your channel is right in here. That comes all the way in here because it has
Yeah.
to slope and tie. That's what we have to include all that. The channel may be still up in there.
Yeah, the
It's just
black,
tying
dark,
out it. Yeah.
yeah, the dark black
don't
line is
think
the
that it's
channel.
dark red where the channels you're gonna see channels. No, because
Right.
then from the channel into this point in here, there is a gentle slope that comes out and ties to it. So if you see red here, that doesn't mean that concrete channel starts right there. No, that's the concrete channel is still there. It's going to be a little bit wider and it's going to come out and then it tie with the existing ground. And we got to account all that stuff when we look for easement. It's not just the concrete channel portion, all the tie out to make sure that it ties up with the ground. That all should be part of the, the easement, the slopes and stuff. So, and remember when we go and construct these channels in the past, it was done by at the time was got done by developer. But when we do now, it's going to be completely our maintenance, and we want to make sure we have a proper way to access the channels too for future cleanups and stuff. Because currently we do access the channels, but we do have issue with how we access those channels.
I'm curious, Caston, does if you don't have to share it either, actually. You can share it individually, whether your house has flooded up before, but you don't necessarily have to answer that right now if you don't want to.
Yeah, based on our 100-year floodplain modeling, you can see all these blue lines in here. These are all 100-year flood. You can zoom out the map.
I'm just curious.
I can upload this thing into the website, replacing what I already have in there, and these can show how the floodplains are there. See, all of these goes through the houses. All of these goes through. There's, that puts all of these houses in
at risk.
Flooding situation. Sometimes you may get lucky, you may not flood. That doesn't mean that you will not flood next time. So.
Okay, how will you decide which option to implement? Do you want to touch on that, Sajan, a little bit more?
So we will be looking for option 2 because that's what solves most of the problem. That includes your yard flooding too. That means that if you get a 500-year event, it's not going to get yard flooded. No, that's not the case. But if the major event that we consider as a 100-year event, for that 100-year event, your yard flooding will be also in the channel. It will be within the channel's limit, and that's why we prefer option 2. So we want to go through option 2 for the concrete channel. It's just like an additional 1 foot easements from going from option 1 to option 2.
There's a question about one of our guests has a sewer drain. I'm assuming that you mean a sanitary sewer drain in your yard. Will those need to be upgraded and pipes replaced underground as part of this? And yes, we do frequently need to relocate utilities. So John, you can touch a little bit more, but
Yeah, so when we actually go through design and some of your manholes for those sewers are got flooded last time, and we will coordinate with the wastewater folks, and we will be bringing them. They will be reviewing our design at the same time. If they see any problem, they will upgrade their lines, their structures at the same time. Because it's going to be one time going out in there. They can work that. We can work that out with them.
Sure, thanks. One follow up on that, I guess, is there's pipes, that would go under our yard, which, we have obviously grass and other stuff, fences and other things. So do they go in and actually have to trench and dig that stuff up, or do they insert new things? And, sometimes when they do the water replacement lines, they can get in there a little less invasively. So just curious what it usually entails.
You're talking about a sewer?
I don't know. I mean, it's between Westmoreland and Sawyer. Cul-de-sac is kind of where ours are. It kind of goes between.
it really it'll depend on like the elevation of those sewer pipes, whether we can just like abandon them or actually have to go in quite frequently and relocate.
In our case, the one on the pool lane up in here, let me bring that map in here too, so we can take a look at. Look at the existing map. So these lines in here, we will leave these lines wherever it's placed. We're not digging them out. We're not taking them out. We're gonna bypass those flows through here and carry either from here and there. So if you're talking about any other lines, that's different. If it's a sewer has to be replaced, then that's something that sewer will work. We will not be replacing the sewer.
No, yeah, it's that green line that kind of runs diagonal there is the one.
Yeah, we're not gonna dig that out and remove it.
And you're saying it's relatively bypassed, so like the new red lines would essentially where most of the flow would go in the future. That's the idea. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see.
That's the idea.
Thanks.
Yeah, the existing lines still need to remain in place to convey the rainwater that falls in your backyards.
So yeah, those lines still need to be there. Yeah,
we can't remove
there are some yard inlets in those yards, so we're not replacing this. So those will carry your localized area flow through there. But most of the flow that comes from upstream, they will be carried onto these pipes and bypass those pipes.
Okay, thank you.
And so, did I answer questions that I got earlier from Karen?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I just read another question to John. I was muted. With either option, will the RPA boundary change at all, or will that remain as is?
No, the RPA boundary doesn't change.
Will the trees that were marked with pink ribbons be removed, and when? Which ones were marked with pink? Do we know?
That was part of our folks that came in and marked.
Right, part of the survey. I mean, typically, so John, when they mark the, go ahead.
Yeah, so they mark the trees. So in the future, when they have to go back, because when we design and we walk, it's easy for us to identify those trees by numbers. So they have flags, and there should be T tags in them. So BT, did we have the flag ribbons instead of? We should have ID for all those trees, right?
Do have points in there. I'm not sure where there's IDs.
Did we put ribbons in there?
I think so. Yeah, there are ribbons in there.
So,
So were
yeah,
they marked for removal or just for
right,
mapping?
that's a good question.
That's just for inventory right now. There's not remove. Removal is only when we are ready, when we actually go and do 65% design, we will be showing all those tree removals that needs to be removed, and those will be individually coordinated with the homeowners. Because if there are trees right now, right on the top of the channel, and we have to expand the channel, those tree has to go. But if we take them out and if it's outside of the easement, we can certainly work out and have a replacement tree. Which within easement will not be replacing it.
I think we mentioned we will be approaching homeowners individually to discuss easements farther.
Yeah.
What is a temporary construction easement? Do you want to get that one to John, or would you like for me to?
Did we put temporary easements also in here?
It's lavender on the map, one of your maps.
Yeah, yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that will be during the construction. So if it's outside of that easement, permanent easement, and if we had to take the trees out for construction, yes, those will be replaced and will be placed where it was, or placed where you want to put those trees.
Are you going to stop by and talk to homeowners about the temporary construction easement as well?
Yes.
Just so we know what's going on?
Yes. Yes, when we come out for the permanent easement, we'll also talk about the temporary easement. Because we need those for construction.
Yeah, you've got a pretty good chunk of my yard with the temporary construction easement, so I'd just like to know what you're going to do.
Well, definitely, we'll work with you. And then the last question in the chat is, so any single homeowner's disagreement could derail the project. I mean, that is correct in a project where the channel, as John mentioned, we can't have a bottleneck and we can't just piecemeal it together.
What happens if we don't get easement? That means we have to leave the channel as it is in that section. That simply will bottleneck the one that we already did. It's going to create a bottleneck effect and clear the backwater effect, like the Youngblood culvert does. Youngblood culvert right now backwaters and floods the home around it. It's because it doesn't have a proper capacity to go. But it's by some reason, the way the channel got bended on the other side, if the Youngblood was not there and the whole flow goes, the other side will flood more again. It's because right now it's restricts, but once it's lifted, it's not going to restrict anymore. And it's going to take all those flow immediately rather than slowing. So that's why the whole section has to be improved, not just a particular one section.
So I mean, we have had to address this with some of our other flood mitigation projects as well. And we will just see where this goes. So there are some hands up, Sajan.
Sure.
If you do have your hand up, please feel free to go ahead and ask Sajan a question. I can't see because
we don't need that anymore though, right?
Hi, John.
Sarah has her hand up, and maybe that's. Did you have a question, Sarah?
Thank you. Yeah, hi. I think it would be useful to be very clear about the easement. It seems that it's the easement is not going to be all concrete, that there's just grading of land as part of it.
Yes. Yes.
So
when we create when we go out to actual construction, and right now the channel was constructed by someone else and we're maintaining it, an old channel. But if we go and construct it, we got to make sure in the future we can go in and do maintenance there too. So we that easement give us, you have a portion concrete channel there, and you have some way in future to access and do any kind of repair maintenance there too. So easement accounts for all of those stuff. Sure. So it's not just the concrete channel. Yes.
Yeah, but I think it's very important for people to understand that they're not necessarily getting a 52-foot wide concrete channel in their backyard.
No. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. A lot of this is sloped and graded groundwork and so on.
Yeah.
And if that's not clear, people are going to torpedo the idea immediately.
Yeah, that's why what we're going to do is we'll have an individual easement plan, and with the plan we will be showing where the channel is versus where the land is, where the temporary easement is.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. Thank you.
Yeah, if you just see a big chunk of map, people just think that, oh, it's the 50 feet wide channel. No, it's not a 50 feet wide concrete channel. We will make enough to convey 100 a year. We're not going to make it for a 500 a year or 1,000 a year. Even that's impossible to build, because you cannot possibly account for all the big flows in the watershed. So there are some questions also. Do we have any other questions from the chat? And then I will go over some of the questions Karen had provided initially to me. So some of them have, most of them have already been answered. There was a questions on are we going to do environmental studies on this thing? No, we're not doing any environmental studies on this thing. We have to get a nationwide permit, and we meet the requirement of nationwide permit for this. That does not typically, where we are not building a new thing, we are just working on what we have in there. We don't have to go through that study. Beyond the project. So there was another questions that how the county compensate the 15 feet property being taken from dozen of homeowners. So as I mentioned, there are 45 easements to acquire, and our land acquisition division is currently working on, after they have the title search, they're gonna look into to see how much the fiscal impact of that will be for the project. And depending on that, we will, if the houses gets flooded versus not flooded houses there, flooded houses have more buy-in to get to the project. So we will be looking for donations for easements from those houses. And it will be combinations. We can't say exactly, but we will first assess how much is gonna fiscal impact for us from the 45 easement. We typically in the projects, we acquire 5-10 easements, but this is a completely different project for us. We don't go through 45 easements on our project. Those typically happens for road projects and others, not for a channel improvement projects. But it is what it is. We never acquire 45 easements for a single project. That's for a road project. So we will have to look into the fiscal impact of it for stormwater money to be spent on the easements. So we'll see, where we will be with the cost impacts of it. And depending on that, we will approach homeowners, whether it's going to be a compensation or donations.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Either they pay you or you pay them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, doing the project itself is millions of dollars of stuff, and
Sure.
when we factor in easements, cost and stuff, it's just gonna balloon out.
Oh yeah.
So we gotta look all that stuff before we make a decision. When we do these typical projects where there are projects that we're doing in some neighborhood where they were all flooded, and we asked them for donations and they gave us, because they wanted to avoid their flooding, and they gave us. But in some situations, some get flooded, some don't get flooded. Some people may want to get price for it. We do a lot of stream projects, and there are a lot of houses, they do get flooded, and we ask them donations for the project, because sometimes easement cost is quite a bit of money for us.
Sure. Thank you.
Typically road projects, and in somewhere you build new thing, and that's a different situations. We're here because of your flooding. We're not here just to go and widen the channel.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you.
We will provide more sandbags if you reach out to Sajan or myself, but MSMD, our Maintenance and Stormwater Management Division, will provide sandbags. We're doing that for some other properties as well.
I think we have Paul in here. Is Paul here still?
Oh, maybe he is.
I saw him earlier.
I'm not sure Paul would be typically read.
At least he can convey
Chris,
to
Chris
management.
Harrington has a policy on it, so I think if Chris is okay with it, we can provide more sandbags.
Okay.
But that is something we do on that.
Okay. Okay.
Right now, or once the project starts for the sandbags?
If you have flooding, we do it right now.
Oh, thank you.
Did I answer all your questions, Karen? You provided me several questions. I think I had all the questions answered. The only one that was not answered was the impact study and then the compensation for the property.
And one other question, once this is installed, is it gonna basically be no flow if on a normal day? Right now, you have about, I don't know, ½ inch of water at all times flowing. And then, of course, it rises quickly once the rains come. But will it just be basically dry once on a normal day?
It should be. Whatever you see now is going to be similar. It's similar in there. It's about 400 plus acres that comes through the channel. It's 3/4 square mile, right? More than 3/4 square mile. It's a larger area comes through there. So when it's flashy, when a lot of flow starts coming in, the channel, concrete channel typically conveys water swifter than your natural channel. So it conveys water faster than your natural channel will do. But then as soon as it comes through and then it hits the young blood, it starts doing the backwater effect because the capacity of young blood is small in there. So it starts backwatering, and then when the flow eventually goes out on the other side, it starts flooding the houses.
But
yeah, in a normal situation, it will have whatever flow you see right now.
Really?
Yeah.
It won't. I would think if it were wider, that there would be less flow.
I mean, we have a 7 feet to 8.5 feet wide channel right now.
Yes.
So it's gonna be a little bit less, but you should not see a dry channel. If you're seeing channel water right now, you will see water later too.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's the same way. Most of the time, these channels are dry right now, right? Dry means the less flow in there.
They flow all the time.
Yeah, it's like, I think there's a natural spring up at the end of this thing that flows down through them, comes down into Plymouth Rock.
Yeah, it in a upstream of Kirby, it's a stream there. So and those are RPA. So that's how, in past they were able to build this concrete channel, and that's still part of RPA because you have stream upstream and you have stream downstream, and in the middle we have a concrete channel. So you can do that thing today, but that's what happened when it was done. It was a different time and different rules and regulations.
And did you say it's a 10-year floodplain design right now?
No, it's 100-year floodplain.
It is the design.
No. What's in place right now only has to meet a 10-year flow.
Thank you.
It cannot even convey the 10-year flow from that.
Which it can't even do. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even in a 10-year flow situation, it's yard flooding in there. And I actually, BT, there were 1 or 2 had almost a structural too, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, even in 10-year, there are a couple of houses is showing impacted by the 10-year flow.
Yes.
So once the 100-year flow is there, it's a balloons and it starts flooding more houses.
Right. Thank you.
There's a question about how the community will stay updated, so John, on the progress, whether they should go to the website or a Teams group.
Yeah, so right, so I updated this site. There are updates like just a couple of days ago, and it's gonna remain there for a while because we're gonna be working with the easement. So there will not be any concrete update there until we have some kind of easement worked out. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you are all within the channel limits or beyond the channel limits, we will be reaching out to you very soon.
Why don't you put the last slide up, so John, in closing here with your email address on it,
Sure,
just so people who might not have gotten that could get that.
Yeah. So here is my email and my phone number, and I think they also came in when you got these letters from me. And the website link that I provided, that's going to remain same. So any update, any significant update happens, I will be posting there. So if you look at the website itself, so any update will happen, they will be updated right through here saying, you know, what's happening. So right now I have the saying that it's under review, and then the easement acquisition will be the next phase. So it's gonna remain that for some time until we, you know, reach out and start working on easements. And even people, you know, all the residents agree it's gonna take some time to go through the easement process. But agreeing is the main thing. Because our projects are not like the road projects where we actually go and, you know, take eminent domain and, you know, take lands. No, we don't do that.
Very good.
Anyone has any other question? If you have, please, and if you haven't answered them, please raise your hand or just speak up.
You can send an email if you'd prefer to do it
Yeah, and
individually. Yeah.
you can send individually, and I'll try to update the floodplain map onto the website with the one that I already have. I will replace that map with the new map. So this map in here, the channel design layout, I will replace one with the floodplain one, because I had gotten those maps yesterday and I didn't have a chance to update that map.
Thank you, Sajan. That was great.
Yes, thank you. It's very helpful.
Thank you all for joining the meeting tonight, and we'll work together to see where we can get these easements for, you know, advance, so we can actually go through the projects.
Thank you, Sajan and Heather. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for joining in.
Thank you all.
Have a great evening.
See you.
Same to you.
Literally.
Thank you very much.